Look at this guy. He wants to become the world's greatest shaver. He's my razor stand. He's originally meant to put pencils. He was advertised as a pencil holder. I think this looks better. Anyway, I'm gonna sit him on top. You're gonna be sitting on his shoulders here. And you're gonna be staring at the whiteboard. Or the blackboard. There are still writings from the previous video. Anyways, I have a few pieces of good news. Number one is that I'm returning a work phone today. And that's a good thing because it means I'm leaving the organization that I'm currently working at. I guess I don't need to be so cryptic with it. I'm currently conscripted, and my conscription is coming to an end. And after that, that means I can pursue the studies I want at university. So that's a great thing. Returning this work phone is just a step. And very soon I'll be out. And then I'll be traveling for a bit. And then after that, hopefully I can find something useful before university starts. And that's where the second good news comes in. And it's that I sent an email about 1 month ago to a professor. I'm not going to name names because I value my my privacy and his privacy. But I emailed him asking, I kind of wanted a research internship before I entered university, just for fun, because I was genuinely interested in stuff that he does. But the stuff he does is really, really advanced, so it wasn't a good idea for me to just, that is what I thought. I thought it wasn't a good idea for me to just email him, asking him, like, hey, can I get a research internship? Because like, what would a guy who hasn't even matriculated into undergrad know about his research? So instead, I showed some understanding of the paper, of some of his papers in the initial email, and then I asked the main purpose of the email was to ask if he had a reading list or any resources for me to catch up on my knowledge so that I can better understand what he's working on. And that was 1 month ago, more than 1 month ago, I believe, and he didn't reply. So in my mind, I was just, well, he's busy, he has other things to do. He doesn't need to entertain someone who doesn't even have a .edu email. But he replied to me yesterday, and he said, in the original email, I was like, I'm using these books to study now, and one of them was Peskin and Schroeder, which you can see there. That's the chapter 3 problem. I'm way past chapter 3 now. I'm like doing, I believe the latest chapter that I have been trying to get past are the ones on Lie algebras and the classification, and also the Wilson loop. I think that's like page 520 in the Google Doc. No, not in the Google, in the PDF. But anyway, I'm far past when I emailed him. When I emailed him, I was more studying the S matrix. Yeah, and that's quite far back. I've already passed like path integrals and basic QED processes, the electron muon scattering. Yeah, but anyway, I'm learning fast, but obviously I don't have enough knowledge to do research with him. That's why I asked for the reading list. And the first thing he did was saying, stop reading Peskin and Schroeder. That was the first sentence. No, the first sentence wasn't stop reading Peskin and Schroeder, but it was one of the first few sentences. And I found it really, really hilarious. I found it really funny, and I really appreciate it, because instead of just saying stuff like, okay, you can read these books, here's a list, just splat. It's really nice to have some guidance. And him saying stop reading Peskin and Schroeder is actually kind of what I wanted, because in the back of my mind, I never really liked Peskin and Schroeder. I had always more been Greiner and Reinhardt kind of person. Those are the books, by the way. Let me just write it down. This chalk isn't good. Okay. I've written it down. Yes. Okay, on top of that, Peskin and Schroeder, he said stop reading that. And it was nice because while I was studying quantum field theory, I really liked the reference Greiner and Reinhardt. It's a quantum field theory book, but unfortunately, that book isn't super duper, how do you say? It's not very expansive, and the coverage is quite narrow. The book is really short, but I really liked how it presented things. Peskin and Schroeder uses a lot of words and very little math, but Greiner and Reinhardt is pretty much the opposite. They use very little words. You get like 1 or 2 sentences, and you get a splat. You just blah. The whole page is like math, and I actually like that because I really can't be bothered to read words, and it's also easier for me to take notes. Because when I take notes, I don't like to write words. I prefer just writing equations. So he said, stop reading Peskin and Schroeder, and then he gave these 2 resources, Ryder and Brewer. Ryder is a book on quantum field theory. It's just called Quantum Field Theory by, I believe the full name is Louis Ryder. So that's the resource that he gave. He told me to read that first, and then he gave me a follow-up resource, which was an introduction to gauge field theory, and that's by Douglas Brewer. And he said read these 2, so I'll read the 2 at the bottom. I'm currently at Ryder now. I started it yesterday, and I'm not sure if it's actually better than Peskin and Schroeder yet, but I'm gonna trust him on that. I'm just gonna stop Peskin and Schroeder and start reading Ryder. I already sort of finished Greiner and Reinhardt because, like I said, the material covered is not a lot. So yeah, the issue that I have with Ryder now is that it's super outdated, and I don't think there's been any recent updates on it, because it does present, in the first chapter, it does present empirical evidence, like talking about quarks, talking about gluons, and it claims that gluons haven't been found yet, and that was true at the time it was written, but obviously now it's not true. We do know that gluons exist and they are a real thing. So I have to be careful with that. So every time I read, whenever Ryder claims things like this hasn't been proven yet, or this is strong evidence but not a smoking gun, stuff like that, I have to search out Wikipedia and actually, or like the net. Wikipedia is not a bad resource. I just search out, like for the gluons, I just search up like gluons, and then I'll see if there are any new experiments, or more recent experiments rather. Ryder was written, I believe, in the 1990s, and yeah, I have to fact check, but that's okay. It's part of the research process. And Brewer I haven't started yet, obviously, because I need to finish Ryder first. But I skimmed through the contents page of Brewer, and it actually really seems like what I've been looking for. Because while I was actually trying to understand his research, I basically put a bunch of his papers into ChatGPT, or rather Gemini, and I asked Gemini what are the needed textbooks to understand this research, and then Gemini would give me a bunch of books, but unfortunately it's not a really good way to do that I found out, because none of these 2 resources, Ryder and Brewer, appeared in the list that Gemini gave, which is I guess I don't know, it just tells me that the AI actually doesn't know anything. Okay, and anyways, at the end of the email, he said, the email, as if the email couldn't get any better, he said, come back and ask for more. Yeah, it really made me happy because he gave me a bunch of books, but he gave me the two. And then he said, once you're done, email me again. And it's encouraging because it's not like he just gave me a list and said, okay, pack it up, get out of my office. It's more like, yeah, if you want, just, if you're ready, come back for more. Which is great. I mean, obviously, it doesn't mean that I get a research internship yet, and it's gonna be a while because I need to study those books. But I am a fast learner. I am a fast learner when it comes to math and physics. So let's see how it plays out, and hopefully, I'll be able to do something useful. And I think I have one more piece of good news. Do I? Let me think. Oh yeah. I'm going to a Kraftwerk concert. I actually saw an ad for it, and my first reaction was, Kraftwerk is still touring, because they're so old, and only Ralph Hutter is the only original member left, and he's turning 80. Florence Schneider died, I believe, in 2023. Maybe I can check. Whatever. Yeah. So the group is so old, and I was just shocked that Ralph Hotel actually still on the tour. And I've seen. I guess it's partly my fault for not keeping up with them, even though I'm a fan. Because they have been touring quite extensively last year, touring Europe and I believe America. Let's see, Florence. Oh, he died in 2020. Wow, that's quite a while ago. Anyways, yeah, they're touring, and I've seen their recent tours now that I know, and I mean, nothing much has changed. The only thing that really has changed is that they stopped acting like a robot, and they actually started moving a bit and shaking their legs a bit, and tapping their feet to the rhythm or whatever during the set. And I think that's completely fine. I'm not gonna put it against them because they're so old. I really wouldn't want them to stand still for, and their shows are long, 2 hours long. And in the past, when they were young, they would just stand there for 2 hours and actually not move. And I've been in parades before, and you don't want to stand still for that long. It really doesn't feel good. So, and they're old. I really don't want them to stand still. It's much healthier for them to be shaking their legs, to be moving, and to be having a good time. So I'm completely fine with that. It's not like any of the charm has been lost because they're not acting like robots anymore. That was kind of a side tangent, but I am excited to see them. I even created a playlist of what I think will be their set list based on their 2025 performance, because I believe they're still using the same set list. I'll probably confirm it closer to the date, and I've been listening to that playlist in preparation for the concert, because 2 hours of just straight electronic music, especially with how sometimes repetitive it can be really fatiguing. So I have to prep myself by listening to that playlist just so that I can get the best experience possible out of that concert, instead of just being like sitting there and wondering when the set will end, because I paid for the concert. I don't want to be having those kind of thoughts or that kind of attitude when I'm sitting there. Anyways, yeah, it's about 15 minutes now. I should get out of the house and start going to the place to return my work phone. And yeah, I'll catch you later. Bye.